Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I need to think of some sort of new intro because I think I say that in every single video, but it feels very appropriate, so I'm sorry if that bothers anyone. I thought we would just keep today's video short and sweet and talk about something that I'm personally sort of trying to figure out how to do. And I feel like with spring, it's like there's all this momentum now that the weather is nice to like get more done. It's obviously lighter, a lot longer, so I feel like I can get more done in the day, but still I find myself procrastinating or wasting time. So I thought we would talk a little bit about productivity today and just 5 super simple things you can do that I think actually make your day a lot more productive. And when I say simple, I mean they are super simple, and they're little things that maybe you wouldn't think actually help your productivity, but they really do. So jumping right into the first one, this is something that I'm sure my mom is going to roll her eyes if she watches my videos, because the first tip is actually to make your bed. And growing up, I hated making my bed. I'm pretty sure that's just a thing, like all kids hate to make their beds, but now that I'm an adult and sort of like in my own life, I've found in the past 2 to 3 years that making my bed in the morning as soon as I get out of bed makes a world of difference. I don't know what is like the psychology behind it, but just getting out of bed straight away, making my bed, it's like that sleeping chapter is over, all of a sudden I'm awake and I'm really ready to start my day. It also automatically makes your place look tidier. Even if everything else is a mess, if you have a made bed, everything looks just a little bit cleaner and a little bit more put together. So you sort of have this like baseline momentum of organized, efficient, and that is what your made bed symbolizes. I also find that I sleep so much better in a made bed at night. I don't know what it is. For me, I think it's like this sort of subconscious association with like when you're actually making your bed, you're closing that chapter, you're awake, and when you're actually untucking the sheets and getting into bed, it's sort of like reopening that chapter and going back to sleep. So I've actually found that that helps with sleeping too, but overall it makes me feel like I'm already doing something the moment that I wake up and that I'm just more productive and ready to go once that bed is made. And that can sort of extend to how you should keep sort of the space around you when you're working. I work from home a lot, so it is really important for me that stuff is put away and everything is sort of in its place and organized so that I don't distract myself and I'm not like, oh, I should vacuum really quick instead of doing this. Oh, I should do this instead of that. If everything's clean and everything's ready to go, then I have no excuses and I just have to sit down and work. The next tip is also something that you can do right away when you wake up, and this is drink a lot of water. So I think I read that something like 50 or 60% of Americans are actually dehydrated and we're not drinking enough water throughout the day. And when you first wake up, your body has sort of been fasting throughout the night, which is obviously good and healthy, but that means you also haven't been having any water in your system, so you are a bit dehydrated. And if you're someone who likes coffee in the morning or something with caffeine, that can be dehydrating as well. So it's really important that before your caffeine, before you have anything else, including food, you drink water. I try and drink like 1 to 2 glasses of water. I know that Jared drinks like an absurd amount of water. But even if you could just do 1 glass before that cup of coffee, I think you will really notice a difference. I feel like my body just works better throughout the day. I don't feel as sort of like dry and tired, and drinking water will really keep you alert and awake and focused. So always keep next to you sort of a water bottle and just keep checking your progress to make sure that you are drinking through that. The third tip is something that I would typically do after drinking that water, and this is something that is really tough and it's taken a lot of getting used to, and I'm still not totally used to it. I still have lazy days where I don't do anything. But getting outside and going for a walk or doing some sort of exercise in the natural sunlight in the morning is really helpful. And I hate to say that because it's so hard to do, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to go and work out before I go to work? Or, you know, if I have kids, how am I supposed to do that? And I guess the answer is you just have to sort of figure it out, which is really tough, and everyone has a different life, so you have to figure out what's going to work for you. Maybe that means getting up earlier, maybe that means that you have to sort of shift these steps around a little bit, but it's so important to get that daylight in the morning. It's going to make you feel so much more awake, and anytime that I exercise in the morning, I notice right away I have a more productive day. I just feel like I'm sort of checking things off as I'm going, and the walk in the morning or Pilates or whatever gives me a little bit of time to decompress. Sometimes I'll think about my day, sometimes I'll try not to and just really be present. But when I return from that exercise, I feel like I have a whole boost of energy and I'm really ready to get to the day. The next thing is another personal thing, and it's something that I like to do in the morning as well, but it revolves around knowing your style of sort of like accountability. Like, how do you remain accountable for whatever you need to get done? Like for me personally, I'm someone who loves lists and I love checking things off and making boxes and feeling like I'm just going step by step by step by step. And at the end of the day, I have this sort of list that I physically write out and I check off that sort of reinforces everything that I've done, and that keeps me motivated. Every time I check off a box, I feel like, okay, I'm ready for the next one, and it feels really good to check off those boxes. So that's how I stay accountable. I need to actually physically write it down. I need to check it off. But some people might not be that way. Some people might be just as accountable if they are working under a deadline, or they give themselves deadlines and they say by the end of the day today, you know, I'm gonna have XYZ done. This really takes a lot of self-reflection, and I think one good place to start is by looking at a project or a day where you felt really successful and you felt like you've been very productive, and think about how you got through that day. Were you checking in with yourself? Was someone else checking in with you? Were you writing down lists like I do? Just sort of analyze what you were doing in that day and then try and recreate that every day. So this is what I mean by, this is going to be very personal, but for me, a planner is really helpful. So I have always had a planner. I love planners. I just love physically writing stuff down. Like I said, checking it off. In fact, I've been thinking about doing a bullet journal because I feel like I'd be so into that, but that's a whole other topic. But yes, I've always had a planner and I always write down lists, and I like to be able to look at sort of the week beforehand, write down anything I know that's going to happen, and then sort of fill in as I go. And that really keeps me accountable, and it keeps me aligned with sort of the goals that I had for the week and what I really want to accomplish. The fifth and final tip is something that relates to at least creating a list and sort of even a list in your head of what you have to do, and it's prioritizing. Because the truth is that yes, all we have is time, but on the other hand, we like to spend our time doing a variety of things and not just doing exactly what we should be doing all the time. So you need to allow yourself some flexibility and some freedom, so that way you don't feel disappointed or discouraged if you don't get to everything. But what you should do is really think about what you need to get done and prioritize them, and make sure that whatever those top 3 or 4 things need to get done today, get done today. Hold yourself accountable for that, and make sure at the very least you are doing those things. Everything else can sort of wait or be shuffled around. But if you're under deadline, if you need to call that person back, don't hesitate, because the longer you put it off, the more it's gonna weigh on you and feel like, oh, I don't want to do this. So it's really great to sort of get an early start and just power through stuff, because then towards the afternoon you start to feel like a little bit more sluggish and not as productive and all of that, and you can start doing those more mundane, not as important tasks. But I think that sometimes tackling the hardest stuff first is really important, because then you sort of have this momentum in the morning, have this momentum pushing you forward, and you can give yourself a little bit of a break towards the afternoon when we all have that sort of like sugar crash, like, is it 5 o'clock yet? Am I going home yet? All right, guys, these are 5 tips that I'm trying to implement in my days now that it's spring, like I said, and I'm feeling motivated to get a lot of projects done. And definitely with doing YouTube and working a whole bunch of different jobs, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So following these steps is really, really important for me, or else I won't get anything done, or I'll sort of feel like crippled under the weight of having to do so much stuff. I hope you guys found these tips helpful as well. If you personally have any other tips, please leave them down in the comments down below. I think it'd be awesome for everyone to sort of share their tips so that we can all be very productive and happy and successful. I know this was a little bit shorter, and I think you guys deserve a short video, because man, can I talk. And I never realized how long these videos are until I'm going back and editing, and I'm like, oh, but that's important. Oh, but I want to make sure I share that. I'm like, Caroline, you cannot say everything. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way. Maybe it'll be like most content in, you know, YouTube posts, and then some content in blogs. So that way you guys get a good balance and you're not totally bogged down by my like 45-minute videos every week. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.